Ever feel like, we're living in the future? I mean, ordering groceries on our phones, robots vacuuming our floors, it's wild.
Hmm.
But all that convenience, comes with risks.
It really does.
Today, we're diving deep into ICT Security Engineering. We've got a stack of resources from RoleCatcher that are like a career platform, kind of like a cheat sheet if you want to break into or level up in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
By the end of this, you'll know if becoming an ICT security engineer is right for you.
What's fascinating about cybersecurity is that it's not just about the technology, not just about the ones and zeros.
Okay.
It's about protecting our way of life in an increasingly digital world.
Okay, so let's break it down. What does an ICT security engineer actually do? Are we talking about building firewalls in the cloud? I mean, what's the deal here?
Think of them as like digital detectives, guardians, right?
Okay.
They're designing these security systems, anticipating threats, and putting plans in place to protect an organization's data.
Okay.
That could mean anything from setting up firewalls and intrusion detection systems all the way to running those security audits
Oh, wow.
and even educating employees about, cyber hygiene.
So you need some serious tech chops for this, right?
While understanding computers and electronics is crucial, yeah, it's not just about being a coding whiz.
Right.
This role demands kind of like a unique blend of technical know-how, but with sharp problem-solving abilities.
So it's like being a digital Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah,
piecing together clues, and outsmarting the bad guys before they strike.
exactly. And the thing is, the cyber landscape is always changing, right?
Oh, for sure.
New threats pop up every day. This means an ICT security engineer needs to be adaptable, a quick learner, and a master strategist, always anticipating that next move.
So we've established this isn't your average IT gig.
Mm.
What about the human element? RoleCatcher mentioned communication skills being important.
Absolutely, yeah. Imagine explaining a complex security breach to someone who can barely set up their Wi-Fi.
Right.
You need to be able to communicate technical concepts super clearly and effectively to both tech-savvy and non-technical audiences.
Okay, so you're telling me it's this fast-paced, intellectually stimulating field. Basically, you're saving the world from digital disaster one line of code at a time.
Right.
Sounds pretty sweet so far.
It can be incredibly rewarding, yeah, especially for those who kind of thrive under pressure and enjoy continuous learning. But RoleCatcher is also upfront about the downsides.
Right.
High stress, long hours, and the constant pressure to stay one step ahead of cyber criminals are just part of the territory.
So it's not all hacking into the mainframe and saving the day.
Sometimes
There's some real-world grit involved, huh?
let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. You're on call, often working behind the scenes, and the stakes are very, very high. But for many, the opportunity to protect those critical systems, to make a real difference in the fight against cybercrime, makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like being a digital firefighter. Sometimes you're putting out small fires. Sometimes you're battling a 5-alarm blaze.
And just like firefighters, ICT security engineers need that specialized training and tools to handle those situations. That's where the educational path comes in, which thankfully RoleCatcher dives into in detail.
All right, so before we jump into the educational requirements, let's take a quick pause and see what's resonating with you so far. If this sounds intriguing, you're in the right place. So you're ready to gear up and join the ranks of these cyber defenders, huh? What does it actually take to become an ICT security engineer?
Well, RoleCatcher breaks down the whole educational side of things really well. And as you might expect, a degree in computer science or IT is, a common starting point.
Right, makes sense.
But this is where it gets kind of interesting. They were saying how even degrees in fields that you wouldn't think are related, like business administration, can actually be pretty relevant.
Business administration.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's got me curious. How does that fit into cybersecurity?
It all comes down to risk management, like understanding how security works with the business side of things, right? Imagine trying to keep a huge e-commerce platform secure. If you know the ins and outs of data flows, like how customers behave, even their marketing campaigns, all that can be really useful in finding vulnerabilities and stopping any risks.
So you might have someone with a business background who then specializes in cybersecurity later on.
Yeah.
Bringing something totally unique to the table. That's really interesting. But let's get into the nitty-gritty a bit here. What about the actual skills and knowledge you need? Didn't RoleCatcher have a whole section on that?
They did. They had a list of 16 core skills.
Wow, 60.
Yeah. But let's just focus on a few that stood out to me.
Great.
Critical thinking and reading comprehension. I mean, they sound obvious, right? But they're so important for like really understanding complex technical stuff and staying ahead of those evolving threats.
It's like being a detective. But instead of dusting for fingerprints, you're searching through code for weak points
Hmm.
and like connecting the dots to figure out the next big cyber attack.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget the basics, knowing your computers and electronics inside and out. And I don't just mean knowing how to use the latest software.
Right. This isn't about knowing your way around a spreadsheet or two. So what does this like deep understanding actually mean?
Imagine knowing how to take a whole computer apart and then put it all back together again.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe not blindfolded, but you
Yeah.
get the idea. We're talking about like understanding those network protocols, how operating systems are built, how different pieces of hardware work together, all that good stuff.
So you really need to know how a computer works from the inside out.
Precisely. Because to protect a system, you need to know what makes it tick, what its weak points are, its strengths. You need to know how someone might try to, break in. And once you have those fundamentals down, that's where certifications come in. They give you that extra credibility boost.
Right. RoleCatcher had a whole bunch of certifications, CISSP, CEH, CompTIA Security, plus Tutti Zakari. It can be tough trying to keep track of them all.
It can be a bit much, but think of those certifications like milestones in your career.
Okay.
Each one shows employers that you have a specific set of skills. For example, you know that CISSP certification, that's the Certified Information Systems Security Professional one. Well, that proves you can design and manage secure systems.
So it's like getting a stamp of approval from like the cybersecurity expert showing you know your stuff in that area.
Exactly. And then you have ones like the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker. That one's for people who like to think like, the bad guys. They hack into systems ethically to find those weak points before the real criminals do.
I see. So it's all about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Uh-huh.
So you've got the education, you've got those certifications, but how do you actually make that jump from like learning to doing?
That's where getting some real-world experience is super important, and RoleCatcher had some really good advice about that too.
Oh, good.
They talked a lot about internships. Even while you're still studying, it's a really good way to get that hands-on experience in a real company.
Internships. Great way to like test the waters in cybersecurity before diving into a full-time job. What other advice did they have about getting experience?
They talked about entry-level IT jobs, too.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a cybersecurity position specifically, it still shows you how IT infrastructure works, how security protocols are used in the real world. And of course, they mentioned personal projects.
Personal projects, right. It's like the proving ground for any tech person.
Exactly. It's a chance to just, experiment, build something cool, and really show those potential employers what you're made of.
Plus, it's like a good way to actually use what you're learning for something real. Okay, so you've got the skills, you've built an amazing resume, you're ready for that dream ICT security engineer job, right? What's next?
The interview, of course.
Right.
And wouldn't you know it, RoleCatcher has a whole section on, how to totally ace those cybersecurity interviews.
They really weren't kidding about being a one-stop shop for this stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of insider tips did they have?
Well, first off, they have this massive database of interview questions, like
They
over 120,000 of them.
120,000, seriously. That's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's not just about the number of questions. What makes RoleCatcher different is that they focus on going beyond those generic questions.
Oh, okay.
They help you tailor your answers to the specific job you're going for.
So instead of giving like some canned response to what's your biggest weakness, you're showing them you have the skills and experience they actually need. Smart.
That's the idea. They've got this platform where you put in the job requirements and it generates questions based on that.
So it's kind of like a custom study guide for each job interview.
Exactly. That way you're prepared for anything they throw at you. Oh, and get this. They even have AI feedback now.
AI to the rescue again, huh? What's AI doing in interview prep?
It's like having a virtual interview coach right in your pocket.
Okay.
You can record yourself answering their practice questions, and the AI, it analyzes your response, how clear you are, what you're saying, even your body language if you do a video.
Wow, that's pretty wild. So it's a way to like fine-tune your answers and show up to that interview feeling super confident.
You got it. And to give you a taste of what they have, I actually picked out a couple of those ICT Security Engineer interview questions from RoleCatcher.
Ooh, let's hear them.
Yeah.
I love a good challenge.
Okay, imagine this. You're in the interview and they ask, how do you make sure security measures are integrated into new IT projects right from the start?
That's a really good question. It's not about just like adding security at the end. It's about making it part of the project from day one.
Exactly. It's about understanding risk, how to manage a project, how to really advocate for security in a team environment.
Right. It's a much bigger picture approach. Recognizing security isn't just an IT thing. It affects the whole business.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other question?
This one's really important too. How do you keep up with the latest security threats, especially in an industry that changes so fast?
That's crucial, right? It's this constant learning process. You got to be ahead of the game, ready for new attacks and vulnerabilities.
Exactly. They want to know you're not satisfied with just knowing what you know, that you're actively looking for new information, trying new tools, always learning.
It's not just about what you know, it's about how you learn.
Right. And that leads us to something that RoleCatcher emphasizes a lot. In a world with so much automation, even in hiring, what makes you stand out? What skills and experiences do you bring that no one else does?
That's something to really think about.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just tick the boxes anymore. You've got to show them your passion, what makes you valuable in the fight against cybercrime.
Exactly. And as we've seen, ICT Security Engineering, it's an amazing career path for anyone up for the challenge.
It really is. You need those technical skills, the critical thinking, adaptability, and this dedication to always be learning.
And with the right prep and help from platforms like RoleCatcher, anyone can be successful in this field.
So if you're ready to be a part of the cybersecurity world, just remember, we need more people dedicated to protecting our digital lives.
Keep those firewalls strong, stay curious, and never stop learning. You can make a real difference as an ICT security engineer.
That's a wrap for today's deep dive into ICT security engineering.
We hope this has been helpful. Until next time, stay safe and keep exploring the world of cybersecurity.